Hello, Facebook. I'm just waiting for people to turn up before I get yabbering. Let me see here. Okay. This is one of my regularly scheduled lives, so we'll see how many people turn up to this. Hello. Just waiting for people to turn up. And do I look like a ghost on YouTube? YouTube's got the worst camera. I can't stand my webcam. It's like zeroed in on every single flaw. That's okay. I'm not here because of how I look. Okay, so welcome to my live. I've just got one person so far. Facebook is my quietest live, so it's the one where I tend to be able to answer. Oh, thanks so much on YouTube. She said, Hanny, well, I don't know if Hanny's a man or a woman. I don't know the name. And they said, you look beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm just here to answer parenting questions. This is my regularly scheduled live. I'm here for a whole 30 minutes. Then I move over to Instagram and TikTok, and they're my very busy lives. Woman, oh, okay, thanks. Then I move on to Instagram and TikTok are very busy. So that gets a little bit crazy. I answer as many questions as possible, but here it's my slower live. So I encourage people to turn up to this one, not because I want more people on here, but because, well, that would be good too, I guess, but more likely to get to your questions on this live. So feel free to ask away. I'll just sit here and wait. I'm not praying. What was I going to say? Oh, I was going to bring something up. No, never mind. Okay, just waiting for your questions. So ask away. I get some really weird emails. I wish I could tell you about them. Some of them just wanting to collaborate. No connection, nothing in common, but they want to collaborate because they want my audience, right? I've got a big audience on Instagram and TikTok, and they want my audience. But it always amazes me what people think I'm going to collaborate with. I won't go into it. Some of it's kind of rude too, so it's quite funny. I don't collaborate with anyone. Maybe one day I will, not right now. Okay, if you don't have any questions, I'll just start yabbering on about my basic parenting theory. I teach parenting leadership. It's all my own stuff. I learned all this through kids. I haven't got a clue what else is out there. I don't study. I've never read a book or watched anyone else on parenting, so I don't know what else is out. I don't know what else is out there. I just teach based on my own experience, 52 years of it. So one thing that is quite interesting that I did this with my kids. Oh, just a sec. I'm going to answer a question, but first of all, I want to mention this: is I didn't teach both my kids. They have things they're born with. You're just lucky, whether it's intelligence or looks or whatever. I said, never take pride in that because you did nothing to deserve it. That was just luck. Only take pride in what you control, how you treat people, what you do. So I taught them that from a very young age. I wanted their pride to come from how they treat people, not how they look or not from their smarts or anything like that. So it's just something to think about. Okay, this is from Eva. Spending time with my 5-year-old twins, playing and so on, following behavior board. They are interactive with me, but does that affect their ability to play independently? Don't worry about that right now. Just work on their behavior, and then down the road when everything's going good, say, look, I need some me time. So go scram. I used to say to my kids, scram, and they'd happily go off and scram because I spent so much time playing with them. So they understood I needed my time, and then they needed their time too. So yeah, don't worry about that right now. Work on the behavior. If that's why you got the behavior board, I'm assuming, right? So yeah, focus on different things at different times. Your focus right now is on their behavior. Also, when children are not getting along, so you've got siblings who just fight all the time, you never, ever spend one-on-one time with them. It builds resentment and hate. You do everything together, but that's temporary because you're working on their relationship. And when you play in their world, play to the weakest link. So the youngest one, play to something they can play, and it's never anything competitive. So then just have fun with them, and they'll bond over laughing at you. You'll be doing silly games with them, rolling down hills and stuff like that, just silly physical stuff usually. And yeah, they'll bond over laughing at you. So there's certain things that are just temporary. You don't eliminate them completely down the road, but you emphasize it more initially when you're working on your leadership skills. What I teach here is I teach how to set you up as a leader. Once you're a leader, maintaining it is very different. because I never really worked to get it. I had it when my kids were little, and then I just maintained it right through the teen years. Piece of cake. But getting respect is hard work. That's what I'm teaching here. So it's sort of that you're kind of working it. You know, it's hard work. It is. You got to earn it. You got to work for it. You got to command it, not demand it. Respect with your kids, because you give it to get it. So yeah, it is hard work, but isn't it worth it? I'd say it's about 3 to 6 weeks it takes. With teenagers, might be longer. It usually is. But yeah, that's why. Oh, check out my link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, or my big boot camp course. That boot camp course is 5 weeks. It's a pretty good time. 3 to 12 years old. Also, my coaching, I got rid of my 1 and 3 session packages. I only have 5 sessions now, because that is when I can get the best results for parents. So yeah, it's all changed. And you can't sign up anymore. I'm really busy. You can't sign up on my website anymore. You have to email me and tell me why you want to work with me coaching. If you want to hire me for coaching, that's how it works. I'll send you an invoice if I think that's a good match. And then if you don't want to do it, just don't pay it. Just ignore it. Someone actually contacted me and said, "Is there a punishment for not paying the invoice?" I said, "No, you can just ignore it." I thought that was funny. Yeah, no, there's no consequence to that. Okay, how do you guide your 5-year-old girl who gets very frustrated and throws tantrums when she cannot do something? Generally, it says because she can't do something. So she gets frustrated because she's trying to do a puzzle and the pieces won't go in. One of those kids who'll bite it up trying to get it in there. Yeah, it could be a personality trait. But at 5, throwing things that's kind of next level. So yeah, she's throwing tantrums at 5. Tantrums usually stop at about 3.5 to 4 when you're a leader. So yeah, she's throwing tantrums. It says to me that at 5 years old, then they must work somehow. You must feed it somehow, or else she wouldn't keep doing it. Past the age of 4, they only do what works. So it says to me that tantrums work. They must fluster you. They must upset you. Well, it's okay here, everybody. You can try it again next time. You know, that kind of stuff. Whenever you talk to a kid like that, this is what you look like. They're not respecting you. So yeah. I sometimes wish I had more tact, but that's not me. So yeah, it's all this mini therapy sessions when you're trying to reason with them when they're being ridiculous. Well, you know, if you're a really good girl, and if you do that, you know, you can still do it. I would never talk like that. If a kid is throwing things and having tantrums just because things aren't going their way, no freaking way would I talk to them like that. This would not happen. Okay, my 2-year-old always tends to come and just hits 4-year-old, and she cries or hits him back. How can I correct their behavior? You got to watch that 2-year-old. They're about consistent corrective actions. Under the age of 3, they're consistent corrective actions. They're not words. They're not on the behavior board. And you can't blame the 4-year-old for hitting back. I never punish a child for retaliating, unless they do some real damage. But you know what I mean. You got to get the one who starts it. So yeah, just say no, and then just intervene as much as possible. It's going to be hard work initially, but it's worth it. So yeah, just watch them like a hawk, and then every time they go for it, say no, and then you sort of remove them. You got to take action. The word no just shows that you're going to take action. They're about actions, not words. Because some people say, why do you say no? It just shows that, hey, I'm taking action now. No. And then you remove them from the older one. Remove them from the fun, or remove fun from them. I know with tantrums, you just wait for them to calm down and then move on. Perfect. What do you do when the tantrum interferes with something time sensitive, such as going to school or an appointment? And you have to go to that thing, especially in the instance of school when leaving the child. My son is 5. Oh, okay, he's 5. He's a bit older. Leave earlier and then wait him out when he has a tantrum, or just pick him up and put him in the car anyway. But you still don't look at them or talk to them. Just pick them up. If you can manage it, he's 5. It might be a bit more difficult at that age. But yeah, you just sort of pretend it's not even happening. Just follow through with what you were going to do. Why are they having a tantrum when you got to leave? I'm wondering. Oh, you're Australian. Well, yeah, my kids were raised in Australia. Do they only have tantrums when you're leaving? Yeah, just leave earlier. I do have a new course coming out soon. It's called School. Oh, am I going to do that one? You know what? I was going to be setting up the school morning routine one, and the person who works with me said, wait till August, school morning, because people are losing interest in school now. So he said, because there's other courses I could be doing. But yeah, get a routine going in the school morning. And I've done videos on that. So check it out. Look up school morning routine in Bratbusters school morning routine. I've done videos on that. Maybe not on Facebook. I don't know what's on. I don't know. I don't do any of my social media anymore. But I know on TikTok and Instagram, yeah, they're probably there. So look up school morning routine. My kids were born and raised in Australia. And when I moved back here, my kids were 9 and 14. Things are very different here. People parent quite different. It's a, yeah. But yeah, it took me a minute to adjust. But yeah, it's quite different. So I knew how to parent in Australia, but I had to learn a few different things here in Canada. Okay, he's been quite happy to go to school, but yesterday his water bottle fell out of his school bag, and I have no idea why, but it was the end of the world. I'll check those out. Thanks. Yeah, I don't know why. Oh, it's just 5 years old. Fell out of his school bag, and he had a fit. He's 5 though, right? They usually stop having tantrums when you're a leader. They stop having tantrums 3.5 to 4. So he's still having tantrums. Water bottle. Well, I can see why. It's very traumatic when a water bottle falls out of your bag. Who knows why they do things, right? Sometimes sometimes it's best just to go, whatever, and then just don't try and analyze it. Unless it happens all the time, then you want to fix it. Got to give them some passes. They're just kids, right? I don't teach how I parented because some of it as they get older, yeah. But because I got respect when my kids were tiny. So I never had to get it. Like I would never have used a behavior board or anything. I would just right in the moment do something. So yeah, I don't teach what I did. I teach you how to get respect, how to start from scratch. That behavior board is my best tool. I've been using that for 16 years now. I started my business 17 years ago. I didn't invent the behavior board till 16 years ago, but I put the parents on it because how am I going to teach parents to be accountable? How am I going to get this across? And whenever parents aren't doing well, I always blame myself because I'm the leader in this, right? When I'm coaching people. So I think, why are they not getting the results I think they should? And it was because I hadn't figured out how to make them understand the importance of being accountable to their children. That's why you're on that behavior board. It is so important. It changes everything. You're still the leader, though. Leaders are accountable. Leaders know how to apologize. They know how to take responsibility for themselves and their actions. They're not blaming other people. Yeah. Okay. Do you know what amazes me? Is that parents still think that parenting should come naturally. Years and years ago, it did. Do you know why? And it was easy. Do you know why? Because you had a village. Like 100 years ago, there was a village raising kids. You had parents, grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles. Everyone lived nearby, and the neighbors were all the kids were out in the street, you know. So you had a whole village, and you had a whole bunch of people to watch how they were parenting. And there was a very specific way of doing it. It was very much the authority style, more the dictator style. You didn't see a lot of parents playing with their kids. My dad, I was adopted when my parents were 38, which was very old for back then. I was born in 1960, and I was a newborn when they adopted me. Anyway, my dad was the only father on the street showing all the kids how to ride their bikes, and he was the oldest dad. He did play with kids. I was very lucky. He played with kids. It just wasn't done back then. But they had a very clear understanding of what parenting was. There was a huge generation gap, which actually kind of gave them a little bit of an edge in their style of parenting. Wouldn't work with what I do. Yeah, so it was a different thing. That mentality of parenting should come naturally. People are pulling into today, which is ridiculous. You're on your own, you're isolated. You're looking at all these gorgeous moms on Instagram who are just killing it. They're perfect. That's not a fair representation of what parenting is. It's the hardest job in the world with the least amount of training, but everyone expects you to be an expert, especially you. So go easy on yourself. Whenever people hire me and I'm working with them in coaching and they say, you know, we just don't know what to do. And I say, well, have you had any training? And they say, no, but we should know. And I'm like, why? Why? How should you know? How should you know that? I've been studying kids for 52 years. I was going to say I'm still learning. There's not really. I was going to try and be relatable there, but I put in 52 years to get here. Like, you know, I worked. I worked it. I figured it out. But generally, people don't have parents after 52 years of working with kids. So, uh, bu- 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 if if anyone's singing, she yells to stop very angry. She just turned 3 years old, lots of angry. Okay. Well, I'm going to sort of maybe English is your second language. That's why it's a little bit hard to understand there. I mean, good for you. I can barely speak one language. I'm always impressed when people can speak more than one language. Anyway, a lot of my clients, their English is their second language. I just can't understand that. I couldn't imagine speaking another language. Anyway, at 3 years old, this is what happens. When they turn 3, they start to be able to reason. And that's why the behavior board starts at the age of 3. They just reach this point where they stop and think before they act, or they can reason. They can start, won't all do it all the time, but they have the ability to start learning to do this. They can go one way or the other. If you're a leader, they get easier. If you're not a leader, you're a pleaser parent, they get more difficult because they found their power because you don't have it. And all children instinctively need, crave, and want a leader. They won't ask for it because they don't know what they need. Like, they don't get that. But yeah, they're very drawn to a leader. A leader makes them like themselves, brings out the best in them, and they tend to make good choices with a leader. If you're not a leader for your child, they're going to be very vulnerable out there in the world. They're going to be very susceptible to bullying, peer pressure, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. You get the idea. If they don't have a leader at home, they're going to go searching everywhere else for that leader. They instinctively need, crave, and want a leader. So you want that to be you. And at 3, that's when you see it. If you're a pleaser parent, they get more difficult. If you're a leader, they get easier. It's just the way it is. It's 3 though. That's when, oh, he was just great, easiest kid in the world. Then he turned 3. That's because he went like this. Hold on a minute. You're not a leader. I think I'll do it. They don't quite go that far, but you get the idea. Okay, toddler is growing more jealous of little sister. How do I handle this? Toddler's 2.5, baby is 10 months old. Play with them and make the toddler the hero. So when you're playing, the toddler is helping the 10-month-old, and make the toddler the hero in playtime. Give it a go. I got a million answers to that. That's just one of them. Make the toddler the hero. Oh, aren't you a wonderful big brother or big sister? Look at that. Oh, they just look up to you so much, and they're like this. And so, yeah. Our toddler is 2. Every time we go to sit at dinner, she starts having a meltdown. Tips? That's okay that she has a meltdown. What's wrong with that? She's 2. She's just exercising her. I'm saying you're not consistent with mealtime. Like, is she in a high chair every single time? My kids were in high chairs till they were 16 years old. I mean, I am just pro high chair because that symbolizes you're going to sit there and eat, and that's it. So yeah, make sure they're in a high chair. And if they have a meltdown, that's okay. That's their process. They're seeing if they can win. Make sure they don't. Okay. That's okay. Never be afraid of a fit scene or a tantrum. Behind every fit scene or a tantrum or a meltdown, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same thing. People will argue, no, a meltdown and a tantrum are 2 different things. Like, move on. I'm never going to be for you. Never. Anyway, they're all the same thing. But if they do, that's your opportunity to exercise your leadership. That's them learning that you're in charge and they aren't. It's okay. Don't be afraid of it. If you're afraid of a fit scene or a tantrum, they are in charge, guaranteed, and they know it. If you're like, I don't, like, what do you want? Anything, but don't have a fit scene or a tantrum. They're like this. Ooh, I think I'm in charge. Yeah, I remember that kid. I talk about this all the time. He was 8 years old, difficult kid. I'd never met him, so I was working with him. So anyway, I sat down with him, and he looked at me, and he said, he's 8, and he said, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. In that filthy look on his face. And I said to him, bring it on. Absolutely no expression. He went like this. And he never did. Yeah, don't be afraid of it. That's my opportunity. I love that because I know how to deal with it. Behind every fit scene and a tantrum is a lesson. It's your opportunity to exercise your leadership. Don't try to avoid them. Everyone wants to avoid them. They will eventually peter out. When you do all this, they will eventually go away. It's a long burn though. It's a slow burn. It's not going to happen overnight. And it's usually going to get worse before it gets better because they're used to you feeding tantrums in the past. Now all of a sudden you're ignoring them and you're in charge. They're going to get worse because they remember the old you. So no toys at the night chair after dinner. The night chair. What's a night chair? I don't know what a night chair is. I don't know what you mean by that. Never heard of that before. Your leader chat. Yeah. Something that I've been talking about a lot, and it's so important. It comes out a lot in coaching. Parents are often surprised with coaching, because I talk about this a lot. Play with your kids. It's their love language. That was my superpower with kids. I played with them. With teenagers, I was funny. I use humor and fun. That's their love language. That's how you connect with them. Play with your kids and stop overpraising. Parents tend to overpraise and underplay. You're wonderful. You're special. No, I don't have time to play right now. But I love you. And the kids are like this. You don't have to say any of that praise. But if you say, hey, what are you doing? Can I play? They're like, they love it. That's when they feel the most special and the most loved. And that's also when they're on their best behavior. That is their love language. Play is their love language. High chair. After dinner, if they're in the high chair, I don't know what's going on in your house, so dinner's over and you want to give them a toy. Why can't they just get down after dinner? Why are they still in the high chair? But also, that's where my kids sat whenever we did Play-Doh or painting or artwork. They sat in the high chair when they were little, because that signified messy stuff is happening. You sit in the high chair. They had no problem with it. They were either going to get fed, or we're going to do Play-Doh, or we were going to paint. They were quite happy to be in that high chair. And then as they got older, of course, I just flipped the tray back and pushed it under the table. So they were on that because they're high up, right? So they were in that high chair for years. You know what I missed is the pram. Oh, sorry, I raised my kids in Australia. The stroller. I missed that. I had nowhere to hang my purse once they were out of that thing. I think it was to the point their legs were hanging off it. I love that thing. Plus, it's somewhere for them to fall asleep if it's hot sun. In Australia, it was so hot. So if they're really hot, you could tilt it back and they could fall asleep. I really missed the stroller once my kids outgrew it. Yeah, where do you hang your purse without a stroller? I was lost. And you don't tend to wear your babies in Australia. It's too hot. You can't. It's too sweaty. So I had summer babies. I never got to wear my kids. It's just too stinking hot. Okay, no one's asking questions, so I'm just going to read my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1 is you set up number 1, see, that's why I look at the list, because I say it out of order. Number 1 is child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. I got lots of videos on that, by the way. Number 3 is when you want to connect with a toddler under the age of 3 is a toddler to me. When you want to connect with them, you enter their world. Watch how they play and join in. You don't expect them to enter your world. You don't connect with a 2-year-old at the nail salon. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. They just start to look at you differently. It's part of your leadership skills. Play is powerful. It really is. That's what I use with kids. Number 4 is when you want to discipline a child, you enter their world again. They're not about words, they're about actions. So stop with these mini therapy sessions. They are garbage. They were invented for the mother. The kids, children under the age of 3 are about consistent corrective actions right in the moment. It's all actions, not words. And number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed in here. They cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains, okay? I miss my stroller too. It was so nice for so many things. Yeah, I didn't have the drink holder. That was back in the day. My kids are like 30 in their 30s now. So, but we didn't have drink holders on our prams. So now you've got, geez, you got like a whole apartment on there now. How do you deal with a defiant toddler towards the mother? Just keep watching. And I just read out. Number 3 is the top 5 tips in parenting toddlers. Number 3 is you enter their world to connect with them. Play with them, and there's a lot of power in play. It's not everything, but it's a huge part of it. Parents tend to overpraise and underplay. Just famous for that. It's just amazing. They're complimenting their kids all the time. Kids don't care. They want you to play with them. That's their love language. That's when they feel like they feel special. They feel valued. They feel loved when you're playing with them. All this overpraising these days, it's okay to praise, but not instead of play. Okay. Just here to say thank you for what you do. This helps so much. I got your bedtime class. We'll do more once my oldest turns 3. Yeah, that's when the boot camp course starts. Parents ask me this a lot. They say, my kid's only 2. Should I get the boot camp course? You can, but it doesn't start till 3. So, and there's really no advice in there for toddlers. Very little. The bedtime thing you could use. That's about it. But yeah, there's very little. Toddler at 3, they just change. They develop the ability to learn how to reason. Doesn't mean they're going to go, okay, let's discuss what's happening here. But they develop the ability to start to learn how to reason. They can stop and think before they act. Up, is it okay to say this? Up. Woo. I don't know what you mean there. Got a couple things here. I'm not sure what you mean by that. There's some questions about the behavior board. Oh, you got a 3.5-year-old who, yeah. I have a potty training course. It's called the Potty Party. And I taught my son how to, he was completely potty trained in 1 day. He was 2.5. My daughter was 2 days. But I was already a leader, so they were more likely to listen to me. They trust a leader, right? They just sort of do whatever you say because they trust you. But it's a really good way to start exercising your leadership skills. It's a potty party. Might take a bit longer, but anyway, you might want to check that out. It's in the link above. So I live downtown. I don't know what you mean by that. Got nothing for nap times. Nap times. Both my kids, I don't talk about that a lot because all kids have very different needs with naps. My kids both stopped regular napping at 12 months old. They just did. And they didn't even sleep a lot at night. They just didn't need a lot of sleep. They weren't super active kids. Even though we had busy lives, they weren't super hyper kids or anything. So yeah, they both stopped. They had lots of naps, but they weren't regular. So yeah, I don't talk about that a lot because all kids have different needs. I think parents tend to push children into naps way longer than they need them sometimes. Then they say, but they're cranky as anything without that nap. Yeah, initially they're going to be. They actually don't need that nap. That's why they're not sleeping at night. But they're going to transition out of it. It's going to be hard. You can actually start just reducing the time they're sleeping. So some parents will say, well, they're like 4 years old. They're having 2 naps a day, 2 hours each, and they can't figure out why they're up all night. So I say take one of those naps away or reduce it and make it 1 hour instead of 2. Are they going to be cranky? Yes, transitions are difficult. That's part of it. You can't move forward until you're willing to go through these difficult transitions. Change is hard. Wear them out. Yeah, if you got a hyper kid, you can't wear them out. Okay, you said it's bad English for my English, but I'm gonna figure it out here because a lot of my clients don't speak English as their first language, so we manage just fine. The only difference is I can't ask you questions back and forth as easily here. 5-year-old son, when ignoring after discipline on bad behavior, I explain him once why, but he continues to ask, why is this? Why? I ignore it and tell him because I decide so. Okay, so I'm just going to set up an example here. This is the why, but why, but why, but why. You know what they're doing? They're trying to break you down, okay? So what I would say, so you've done the behavior, now he's 5. You've done the behavior board and you say, okay, you broke the rule, here's the consequence. And then you lay that out. Now, remember, there's always 2 consequences. The first one is the positive action. You start with that. If they won't do it, then you resort to the negative deprivation. An example of that would be 24-hour media blackout. It could be a bunch of different things. But anyway, so let's say that you've got that on the board. So you say, okay, so you broke the rule. Now you have to help me do the dishes. But why? But I don't like it. He's 5. At 5 years old, I would say, I'll tell you what, if you keep at me, we'll do the 24-hour media blackout. And then I would just go quiet. See what he says then. If he says, but I don't understand, say, okay, I'll tell you what, 24-hour media blackout starts now. Take that hard line. It won't happen again. You got to be willing to take the hard line initially. 24 hours, and that 24 hours, I don't go on about this enough in lives, but I do in coaching. Coaching is better because I get back and forth. But anyway, that 24-hour media blackout, that's when you bond with them. You do it with them and you say, do you want to play a game? Look, we're doing it with you. Do you want to play a game? No, I hate you. I hate you. Okay, never mind. As soon as they calm down, ready for that game now? You keep coming at them. Keep coming at them. Every time you say that, you know what you're saying to them? Subconsciously, this is what they're hearing. I love you. Like, it's okay that you got 24-hour media blackout. That's fine. I'm doing it with you. Do you want to play games? You see? It's win, 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 win. It's all positive. Anyway, okay, I got to get going. I'm going over to Instagram. That's my really busy. Now, Instagram and TikTok are both super busy lives. So I'll do my best over there if you move over, but I don't get many questions on there, unfortunately. So anyway, I'm going to Instagram now. It's Bratbusters Parenting over there, but check out my link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can hire me for coaching. I'm very busy these days. I've eliminated everything but the 5 sessions. and you have to email me first, and I'll see if I have time to take you on. So, or you tell me why you want to hire me. Anyway, and if you get an invoice and you change your mind, just don't pay it. A couple of people have asked me, what if I don't pay the invoice? Am I in trouble? Just ignore it. You changed your mind, you ignored it. Just strikes me as funny that a couple people have asked that, as if it's a bad thing to. Anyway, it's quite cute. Okay, bye-bye. I'm moving over to Instagram now. Take care. Sorry, YouTube, I'm just pushing buttons here now. Done. Okay. You can ask questions on YouTube too. It's just, it's my slowest platform, like my smallest one. So I don't always remember to look down there, but I'll try. Sometimes too. Not more on Facebook. I get less questions on Facebook, but Instagram and TikTok, I'm just floundering trying to answer questions here. Welcome to my live. This is one of my regularly scheduled lives. I'm Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you're new here, if you're not new, then you know how it goes. Anyway, I'm on here pretty much every day. I would say 5 to 6 days a week I'm doing lives. Only 2 of them, Tuesdays and Thursdays, are regularly scheduled ones. The other times I just turn up when I feel like it. So it can be really early in the morning or really late at night. I never know. Thank you for all you do. You're very welcome. This is where I answer all my parenting questions. In case you've noticed, I rarely get to comments and messages. I just don't. And I don't answer parenting questions on emails. I just can't. I'm serving my clients and my coaching clients mostly. That's where I spend all my time when I'm not doing this. So, but yeah, I just don't have time to answer all those. This is where I answer all the questions. That's why I'm here so often, because I feel bad because I can't. Sometimes I'll try and I'll look at the comments, and then 3 hours into it, I haven't even reached like a quarter of them. So yeah, I just feel awful about that. But anyway, so I'm just announcing that this is where I answer questions. Unless you have questions about my services or something, but just general parenting question, this is the only place I really guarantee I'll turn up and answer questions. Hi Lisa, having a hard time finding your latest lives on YouTube. Just look up Bratbusters Parenting. They should all be there. I don't do that. I have someone else who does that for me, but they're a lot more efficient than I am. So I'm sure they're all there. They only took one down. This is really embarrassing, but I'm going to tell you anyway. The person who works for me said, did you, how do I explain this? Not burp, but the other end. I swear it sounds exactly like I let one go. But I can tell, I know I didn't. I would know if I had. It was so awful. I think that they took that down. That's the only live they took down. But we both studied it over and over and over again. There's no way I did that. And then we tried to replicate what it could have been. It's the only live we've ever not posted. The gassy live, but it wasn't. I know it wasn't. Oh, but there's no way it didn't sound like it. Like it was just unreal. What a mystery. Although I'm getting old, maybe I'm dementia and I'm just letting them go and don't even know it. Okay, how many behaviors do you address at one time? 1. The first week you do 1, then the next week you've got 2 behavior boards. In week 3, you've got 3 rules, 3 behaviors that you want to correct. Okay, 1 at a time. If I went in and when I deal with kids, I deal with everything in day 1, instantly. By probably day 3, I'd have it all sorted out. But I'm level 10 with what I teach. You're learning. This is about you. It's not about your kids. We're not fixing kids. We're teaching parents. I'm teaching you how to be a leader 1 step at a time. In the boot camp course, that's the 3 to 12-year-old one. That's when you're at the height of your leadership. Everyone wants week 4. That's when you go to in the moment discipline. You take the focus off the behavior boards. You can still use them, but if the focus is now in the moment discipline, so now you start addressing everything in week 4. But yeah, you can't start there. That's where I'd start. But you can't, when you're learning how to do this, if you overload yourself and try and deal with everything, you're going to burn out and you're not going to do it. It just very difficult. So whenever I'm hired and coaching, and I'll say, well, what do you want to focus on? If the kids hit, we always do no hitting. So then they say, yeah, but what about all the other stuff? I'm like, so what do you want from me? Like 1 at a time, 1 at a time. What happens is by week 3, especially, the kids start to respect you and the other bad behaviors start to fall away, because what it's all about, they're just reacting to you, your leadership. So that's the whole, you've got to nail it with that behavior board. Nail that 1 rule. Just get it figured out. Doesn't mean they're not still breaking the rule, but it means you're making that behavior board work. You're following through. Okay. You mentioned with 3-year-olds, you correct through action. What's an example? No, under 3. Under the age of 3, it's consistent corrective actions. So every single time, let's say throw a toy, you say no, and you put the toy away. Let's say they hit someone, you say no, you grab their hand, you say no, and then you remove them or remove that. So you always are removing fun from them or them from fun, just for a minute or so. It's not a big deal. But it's a sign. Hey, look, no, you can't get away with that. It can be like repetitive. It can get like that, especially when they're really tiny. If they're under the age of 16 months, you can start to use redirection. It's indirect redirection. That sounds so stupid, but it goes something like this. I don't like distraction. I think that's a reward because you never distract with broccoli. So if a kid's doing something bad, here's some candy. It is redirection, but here's how you do it. So if they're continually doing the bad thing and you're consistent corrective action constantly, you correct it and then you go, ooh, look at this. And so you're looking at something, not talking to them. So you're making something like, oh, wow, I love this book. Oh, and the fox jumped over that. And so you make it look interesting. The idea is they might get distracted from what they're doing and come over and sit with you while you read a book. That's under the age of 16 months. They're still kind of babies. I don't know how to answer this because there's no easy answer to this. You're dealing with toddlers here. Everyone wants an answer with toddlers. They're kind of crazy. So 22-month-old will not take sippy cups. She'd rather not drink. How can I get rid of the bottle? I can't tell you what I did with my kids because I can't. In coaching, I do. I'm not saying you should hire me for that. Do not hire me for coaching for that. But I can't because how do I explain this? I want them to be thirsty. I would buy them a new sippy cup, something different. I want them to be thirsty. Think of ways that they might get thirsty. Just use your own creativity. But I can't talk about it because it's sort of not medical, but it's sort of, I'm not making any sense. Someone's going to figure out what I'm talking about for sure. 3-year-old who screams to get their way sometimes blends with crying, genuine upset, then turns into screaming. Yeah, they're upset because they're not getting their own way. You do not address that. You do not need to address every single feeling that they have when it's just a feeling that they're not getting their own way, even though you said no, they're mad at you. You do not need to validate that feeling. You do not need to validate every single thought, feeling, and fart with a kid. That is ludicrous. I know it's taught. It's very common out there. That's the please your parent. You validate all feelings. You know what's interesting? Most pleaser parents yell. Do you know why? Because that method doesn't work. And they get frustrated and they end up yelling at their kids. So yeah, it's okay that they yell. It's okay. That's their process. It's okay that they get upset that they're not getting their own way. That's okay. Let them do that. Just ignore. Yeah. Oops, I got to flip ahead because I got a lot of questions and people come and go. So I don't want to answer a question if the person's already left. 3-year-old whines for almost everything and immediately freaks out. By the age of 3, that's a learned behavior. It says to me that it's worked. You must have fed that at some time, and that's why. Stop feeding the whining and it will end. Yeah, it just does. I do yell because I get frustrated. You're right. That's exactly why I was asking for help. I don't want to be a screaming mom. Thank you. I would say, actually, I had a new client today, and neither of them yell. It throws me off. It's so rare. Most parents yell. That's why they hire me. Most parents yell because they don't know what else to do. The reason they yell is because it works in the moment, short term. So it does work, but you know darn well it's going to backfire down the road. It's not a good way to do it. It's not a good way to parent. Leaders never yell. My son used to say, if my mom ever whispers, run. That's what I'm disciplining. I would say, so, this is how I talk if I'm disciplining. I didn't have to do it with my kids really, but when I was babysitting or whatever, I'd say, look, I didn't like that. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to help me do the laundry. Do you understand? Okay. That's how I talk when I'm disciplining. It's very quiet, very calm, very slow. And I'm nodding a lot when I'm saying it. Do you understand? And kids tend to listen, but it takes practice because they know the old you who was more like this. Well, what do you want? What do you want? So yeah, when you're transitioning into the leadership, it's going to get worse before it gets better because they remember the old weaker you. Now you're becoming a strong leader. Watch the difference though. 1 or 2 weeks, you get a couple of weeks under your belt with this and you'll go, oh, that feels great because they are happier kids. They love a leader. Children need, crave, and want a leader. You provide that for them, you'll just see their stress just goes away, the tantrums start to diminish, everything gets easier. By the way, check out my link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can hire me for coaching. In case you haven't heard this, coaching's completely changed now. I'm just super busy. So you have to email me and tell me why you want to hire me for coaching. I've only got 5 sessions available now. That's where I get the best results. So it's the most rewarding for me. That's why. Selfish, aren't I? But that's where I get the best results. I like those. It's because my boot camp course goes for 5 weeks too. So it makes sense. It takes about 5 weeks to learn how to be a leader. That's not true. You can learn how to be a leader in week 1, but 3 weeks working with me, you can get it kind of nailed, but then we tweak things and change things in week 4 and 5 and, you know, wraps it all up with a nice little bow. 18-month-old twins won't take a nap. They sleep 12 to 13 hours. Is that okay? Well, that sounds like joy to me. My kids stopped napping regularly at 12 months old. They just didn't need naps. So, and they didn't sleep for 13 hours at night either, maybe 10 or 11. Like they just were not big sleepers. And that's fine. They were easy kids, so it didn't bother me. But yeah, no, that sounds fine to me. Fine to me. Lots of kids don't nap. Okay, someone on YouTube said, my son is turning 4 in May, and he's starting school this September. Okay, so school would be preschool. Yeah. He has never been enrolled in any preschool or daycare. I'm wondering what to expect. Any thoughts? Oh gosh, no. Don't even worry about it. Just the daycare is used to this. They're the professionals with separation anxiety, adjustments, transitions. They're going to help you probably just as much as your kid. So do the dump and run. And this is how you drop a kid off when they're new to something. Say it's going to be so much fun and I'll see you later. And you don't make a big deal out of the goodbye or the hello. It's no big deal. And you always end with see you later. Or say, I'll see you at 3 or noon or whatever. And then you just leave, do the dump and run. Then you go sit in your car and cry if they're crying. That's what I did. I went and sat in my car and cried. Actually, it's funny because I didn't cry because they were crying. I cried because it was tough for me. I love mothering. I didn't want to give them up. Anyway, that's how it felt. Grade 1 felt like, okay. Oh, so you got twins. They just turned 3. I struggle with comforting one that got hurt and disciplining the other. First of all, and this comes up all the time in coaching, why did the other one hit that one? Did the other one cause it? I don't discipline the hitter if the other one antagonized them. I just don't. May sound wrong, but there's a whole system around that. But yeah, so make sure you've got to identify, first of all, why they hit. That's the most important thing. And use the behavior board. Put down no hitting. Don't put down no antagonizing or anything like that. But yeah, watch them like a hawk and say, you know what? He hit you, but because you went like this, so I'm not going to punish him for that. I'm going to punish you instead. You started it. It goes something like that. They're 3. They can start to understand. They won't maybe understand it at first, but a few times they'll start to get it. You kind of learn as you go. A lot of kids will say, I didn't know, I didn't understand. Well, you'll learn as we go. Or you'll know next time, won't you? Like it's a learning process. Don't expect them to get this right away. 3-year-old starting to refuse to eat dinner, new behavior. Yeah, they're 3. They often find their power at 3. It goes 2 ways. At 3 years old, they start to be able to stop and think before they act. They start to be able to reason. Doesn't mean they're going to do it, but it means they're getting the ability to learn how to do these things. Anyway, am I running late? No, I'm okay. Anyway, they'll go one of 2 ways. If you're a leader before they turn 3, they get easier. That's when you just go, ooh, walk in the park. They're not toddlers with all feet, no brains anymore. They just start to get easy because they know you're in charge and they feel safe and they're happy. It's high self-esteem. It's great. If you're not a leader, if you're a pleaser parent, they go the other way. So they could just be controlling you with this. It could just be a part of that rebellion at not having a leader. That's at 3. That's when that happens. It just goes like that. Okay, I just had this on Facebook. It was how to deal with jealous 3-year-old that's very jealous of the 8-month-old brother. Play with them together and make the 3-year-old the hero. Oh, look. Oh, he just looks up to you. Oh, wow, look. Wow. And then can you help him with that? Oh, wow. Look at that. Make him the hero, the big brother, the protector, jealous. Well, I don't know if it's a girl or I don't know if it's a boy. It doesn't matter. Make them the hero. I got a million different answers for that. That's just one of them. That's my latest. I get bored with my answers, so I have to mix them up. And when I'm coaching people, they all get different. Like sometimes they'll refer a sister or a friend or whatever to me, and then they'll compare notes. And they say, "Did you have a different Lisa?" I give you different personalized advice. So, and I get bored with saying the same things all the time. So I'll often mix it up, and they'll get like completely different advice, same outcome. And it depends on their personalities too. I work to the parents' strengths and their weaknesses, to figure all that in, but it's quite funny. Yeah, it's funny when I get parents and they say, "Why did you tell my sister to do that and me to do this?" I said, "Well, because she has more patience than you do, and I don't want to push you as hard." And they go, "Oh, okay." Blah, 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 blah. Just offer sippy cup. Now, what you're doing is you're responding to the one who decides they don't want to drink anymore. Okay. Just offer sippy cup and straws and open the cup and they will get thirsty and just give in and drink from what you offer. Yeah, that could work. It's just a short-term thing. A lot of these things are just crazy phases that toddlers go through. Next thing you know, they're onto something different. I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Wow, I said that without lisping or anything. Okay, usually I stumble over that. Okay, these are my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is you set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is when you want to connect with a toddler, toddlers are under the age of 3, when you want to connect with them, you enter their world. You watch how they play and you join in. You don't go to the nail salon to connect with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. Enter their world. They just start to look at you differently. It's part of your leadership. They look at you differently. You matter more. You're just more relatable. Number 4, it's kind of similar. When you want to discipline a toddler, you don't do it in your world with all these mini therapy sessions that are just garbage. Anyway, those were invented to make the mom feel good. Use your words. And it's ridiculous. They're about actions, consistent corrective actions right in the moment because they learn through repetition. That's their world. They're not words, they're actions. Okay, number 5 is stop trying to figure out toddlers. They're not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. Imagine if you were 2 years old and for one of those years you were a potato laying on a mattress. They're just forming. I always say toddlers are crazy. They just haven't developed sanity yet. They're not there yet. Cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. That was my least favorite age. Not at home. I love them at home, but going out with a toddler, just constant worrying. They just walk into a swimming pool or, like they're just constant, because I'm a safety nut. So it was always worrying every time I took my toddlers out. Could never just relax. Oh, my son is 3. Oh, I got an easy one for this. My son is 3.5, and now he mimics my disabling. Ill. Oh, I'll say my disabling. You mean disciplining? Okay. I know it's just typos. I'll say, put your toys away, time for bed, and he'll laugh and repeat what I say. How do I deal with that? Okay. It's actually a really easy one. I'm just thinking so many different ways you could do it. How old is he? 3.5. Okay, so I would say, put your toys away within 10 minutes. Always use a timer, always. So use the behavior board and say, put your toys away within 10 minutes of being asked to do so. Do not say, do what I say within 10 minutes. Be very specific, a specific action. Put your toys away within 10 minutes of being asked to do so. That is the rule. If he doesn't do it, there's a consequence. So say, okay, so within 10 minutes, you have to put your toys away now. And then he goes, within 10 minutes, you have to put your toys away. This is what I would do. Completely ignore. Oh, you got 1 more minute. 1 more minute. Beep, beep, 10 minutes is up. Oh, I see the toys aren't put away. Let's go to the behavior board. Okay, here's your consequence. He will stop mimicking because it's not going to work. It obviously gets under your skin and annoys you. It's a very it's a tell for me. It says he doesn't respect you. Work on your leadership skills. The behavior board is how you start to learn how to be a leader. So that's how I would handle it. Let him mimic all you want. You're going to win. You're going to go to that behavior board and say, okay, the consequences is, I hate you. And I'll tell you what, you keep coming at me. It'll be media blackout for 24 hours. You look at the behavior board, you'll understand what I just said. So easy. Just take control. Calm. All discipline is a business transaction. No emotions. None. when you're with kids, a lot of parents, I don't know why they do this. I know it's for them, but I always try and figure out why do they do this. You know, when a kid does something bad and then you discipline, then you keep talking about it. Why do you keep talking about it? You're rubbing salt in the wound. It's for you. It makes it. You think you're driving it home. You're actually dragging them down. You deal with bad behavior like that fast, and then you focus on the good kid. I'm going to tell the pool story. I hate telling this story because I've told it so many times. I can't stand the sound of my voice when I'm saying it. But it's my absolute best story for explaining leadership parenting and why you don't discuss what they do wrong. You deal with it, but you don't discuss it. It's extremely important. Really good message. Okay, I'm sure you've heard this story. I've told it a million times. I haven't told it much lately because, as I said, I'm bored with myself telling it. But anyway, okay, the pool story. True story. My son was 8 years old. We had a pool in the backyard. It was his 8th birthday. So he had 5 8-year-old boys over, friends. So there was 6 8-year-old boys in the pool, and I was there on my own that day. My husband took our little girl out for a while. So it was just me there, and I was supervising these 6 boys in the pool. Now, I'm a safety nut. So all I'm doing is counting heads. That's why none of the moms stuck around, because I said to them, if you're going to stay here, don't even talk to me. All I'm doing is counting heads. So they just all took off. They just wanted to sit and have coffee and chat. I don't do that. I'm counting heads. So anyway, and I had this big blow-up toy called Whaley. It was giant. So it was way off to the side because I said, look, the rule is no Whaley in the pool. If Whaley's in the pool, I can't see behind him. 3 kids could drown behind Whaley. So it's a safety issue. So no Whaley. Okay, no. I didn't want to take the air out because they're 8 years old. They can understand this. And I didn't have a foot pump to pump it back up again. Anyway, sure enough, one of the kids took Whaley in the pool. So I said to him, and I went like this. I said, Whaley out of the pool now. And he said to me, no. My son went like this because he knew mom knows how to take care of business. Fully clothed, I'm in the pool, had that kid out of the pool like that, and he's sitting beside me, and I said, you're going to sit there for 10 minutes. And then I'm counting 5 heads in the pool. They're all playing. He's sitting beside me, and this is what I'm doing. 10 minutes. Oh, I saw you in that soccer game the other day. You got a goal. Good on you. And remember the other day we worked on that test? I heard you got like 85% on that test. Way to go. High five, whatever. And then I said, what's your favorite PlayStation game? He's talking to beep, time's up, 10 minutes. Okay, go back in the pool, have fun. I couldn't get rid of him. He wanted to sit and talk and talk and talk. He was having a great time. Okay, fine. I kept looking at my son, help. So finally my son got him back in the pool because they needed 3 per size to play basketball. Anyway, he goes back in the pool, and that was that. He was good as gold the rest of the afternoon. Not only that, he was my helpful little assistant and shadow. I could not get rid of this kid. Anyway, hours later, seemed like weeks, but anyway, hours later, his mom came to pick him up, and she said to him, and bless her heart, he was difficult. She was so frustrated. She said to him, were you rotten as always? And he kicked her in the shin, and off they went. But anyway, she was doing the best she could. She was just so beaten down by this kid. But anyway, so that was it. Now, initially I was very clear about the rule. Whaley cannot go in the pool. I didn't overstate it because I'm a leader. You don't go on about stuff as a leader. Just Whaley's too dangerous. I explained why. It's too dangerous. Okay, they're 8 years old. They can understand that. Then when he brought Whaley in the pool, why did I not say, can you please take Whaley out of the pool? Because I'd sound like me, I just said Whaley out of the pool now, because that's a safety issue. He just broke a very important safety rule. I do not need to ask him. I need to order him to get Whaley out of the pool because it is a safety issue, right? And then when he said no, I would not repeat. Like I would never repeat myself. I take action. As soon as I've said something and they disrespect me, I take action. I'm in the pool, got him out. He didn't even know what happened. He was out sitting beside me. Then when he's sitting beside me, I said, you're going to sit here for 10 minutes. Why would I not say why? He already knows. He's not a moron. I don't need to rub it in. I've already done the discipline. You discipline the bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid. Now I'm focused on the good kid. I'm bringing out the best in him. He started out like this, and then by the end of it, and then I got another goal. And did you see, I love the PlayStation. Yeah, he feels like $1 million when he's with me. Talk about power. That's leadership. I just exercised my leadership. Now he's all over me. He can't do enough to please me after that. That is the epitome of leadership. Also, because I'm focused on the good kid now. I'm building that relationship. Also, when the 10 minutes was up and I said, okay, go back in the pool and have fun. If I had said, don't bring Whaley in the pool again, I would have erased everything I just did with that kid. I would have just cut him down. What an insult. What a nasty thing to say. He's already been punished. Don't humiliate him. Don't bring Whaley in the pool again. What a horrible thing to say. I just built him up. He feels like $1,000,000. Okay, go back in the pool. Have fun. Good luck with the basketball game. Building him up, building him up. I focus on the good kid, and it comes out. When you get good at this, that's all you get is the good kid. I've worked with delinquent teenagers. I've worked with all sorts of kids. I know how to get the best out of them. That's the best story I can tell. I got a million stories. I tell a lot more in coaching because they're a little bit more raw, a little bit more, especially with the troubled teens. But that's basically how it works. Does that make sense? That to me, that story epitomizes leadership. I don't let anything go. I deal with bad behavior, but then I focus on the good kid. That's how you get respect. He was all over me. Couldn't get rid of him. Can I help you with the cake? Oh God, jeez. No, I got it. Thanks though. Like I couldn't get rid of him. So that's leadership. Yeah, parents they can't help themselves. Now remember when you took Whaley in the pool? Now you know you shouldn't have done that. You're just knocking them down. You're making them feel like garbage. You're making them feel like garbage. Oh, 20-month-old acting out. Yeah, the new baby would do that. Absolutely. It's a transition period. You can't rush it. You can't figure it out. You can't help it. Just go with it. They can become little helpers with the baby, and you can talk about how much the baby loves them, but that's only 20 months old. They don't really care. But yeah, it's just a transition time. There's not much. I can't help you with that very much. Imagine, parents always say to me, how do we, well, they don't always say this, but parents often say, we got a 2-year-old, we got a new baby coming. How can we prepare them? And I'm like, you can't. How can you possibly prepare a 2-year-old for a new baby coming into the house? They see the new baby in the hospital. And you're thinking, oh, what a wonderful big sister. You get her home, she picks the baby up and throws him on the floor. Because they don't realize that thing's coming home and changing their whole life. It's turning the whole household upside down. How can you possibly prepare a toddler for that? It's impossible. It's just a transition. They'll survive. Parents do survive it. Barely, but they do survive it. Any advice on corrective action after throwing stuff when they are done with it? I'm a broken record saying don't throw stuff. Why are you saying don't throw stuff? You don't talk about it. You just take action. So they throw something, you say no, and you pick it up and put it away. Every time they throw something, pick it up and put it away. Or if they're throwing stuff they don't care about, you say no, and then you take one of their toys and put that away. Now, I do a toy rotation system, so my kids only had 5 toys out. Wouldn't take long for those 5 toys to get put away. So yeah, you're using words. You sound like a broken record. Trust me, they're not listening to the first time you said it. I don't repeat myself, by the way. Never. Repeating yourself. The first time I say something, not to a toddler, I don't use words, but as they get older, I say, I'll tell you what, you got to get ready. We're going to head out in 5 minutes, so make sure you're ready. I would never say that again. If the kids weren't ready in 5 minutes, I take action. I don't talk after that. Here we go. Take their hand, grab their shoes, get them in the car. No anger, just take action. Words are weak. If you start repeating yourselves, okay, trying to think of a good analogy. Oh, I'm running out of time. I don't have one. I mean, I do. I just thought of one, but I don't have time. I'm moving over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. If you're not, you can check out the link above. It's got everything I've got to offer in my business. My free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course for 3 to 12 years old, which is all about you and your leadership. Remember, we're never fixing kids. We're teaching parents here. And then, or coaching. Coaching has changed. I've only got the 5-session. I'm very busy these days. I've only got the 5-session option. And you have to email me to tell me why you want to work with me. And then I'll see if I've got time and if I can fit you in. And if I send you an invoice and you change your mind, just ignore it. I've had a couple parents now say, what happens if we don't pay it? Nothing. Isn't that cute? They think I'm going to discipline them or something. If you change your mind, if I do send you an invoice for coaching and you change your mind, just ignore it. It'll be deleted eventually anyway. I thought that was so cute. Anyway, I got to go. Happy parenting. I'm going over to TikTok. Oh, junior kindergarten. Okay, they name it something different everywhere you go. My kids, 3 years old, it's kindy. 4 years old is preschool. And then 5 years old, it's grade 1. That was in Australia. But even in different states in Australia, it's called different things. Okay, I'm now on TikTok, and it's another big one. I don't get to hardly any questions on Instagram. It's frustrating. I get to maybe 1/10. Okay. Hello. I feel like I haven't been on here in ages. Was I on here yesterday? I don't know. Anyway, now well, you don't know, but I started on TikTok. That's for 2 years. It's been, I guess, almost 2 years now. I went on TikTok and I just blew up overnight. I couldn't believe it. I'm going to tell this story because I love telling this story. My daughter kept saying, "You got to go on TikTok, Mom. It was made for you. Short videos, just casual." Because I don't like anything where you have to plan anything out. So anyway, I said, fine. But I just blew up overnight. Do you know what happened? Is my competitors, evidently, I found other people told me about this. They were doing duet videos with me, cutting me down. They saw me as a threat, obviously. So they were trying to cut me down. All their followers were coming over to me. They built my channel for me. And then I started feeling bad about that because I knew that they were doing that, and I don't think they figured it out. So anyway, then I started talking about it. All of a sudden, my numbers slowed down, and they stopped talking about me. Isn't that hilarious? That's one of my favorite stories because I love karma. I love karma. I love justice. I love fairness. I love karma. Anyway, I didn't get any laughter in there. I thought that was pretty funny. Okay, this is, it's going to lead me into a bit of a speech. When you say no to a toddler and you don't repeat and take things away and they start crying, right? That's their process. That's wonderful. You want that. That's them learning you're in charge. It's okay. It's them learning that they're actually accountable for what they do and what they say and what happens in their life. They're accountable. So that's what you want. You actually want the fit scenes and the tantrums. That's their transition into your leadership. If you're afraid of a fit scene or a tantrum, they are totally in charge. And boy, do they know it at a very young age too. Yeah, don't be afraid of it. That's their process. That's okay. That's okay. Don't be afraid of that. I'm a single mom and my child has extreme separation anxiety. That's a temporary thing usually, and it's not easy, and it's going to take time for them to learn that you're coming back. You don't make a big deal out of leaving or coming home. The goodbyes and the hellos are very low key. You say something like this, "Okay, I'll see you later," and you leave like that. "I'll see you later." Leave on that up note, that "I'll see you later," and then you leave. You can do a few practice runs, go away for 5 minutes, and then come home when they've calmed down. Or if they're not coming home, you can even come home. If they're not calming down, you can even come home quicker. You might be right outside the door. You got a friend there watching them. So you come in, you say, "Oh, okay, then just start doing chores." So don't make a big deal out of leaving or coming home. But it's not going to happen overnight. It might take them a few months. You look at kids when they first go into daycare. The daycare workers know that their new clients are the hardest ones because of separation anxiety. And then the kids end up loving it usually. So I'd love to know, but if you're implying we talk like that in my house, we don't. I just says things like I'm thinking it. I don't know how you talk. Okay, this is a 3-year-old being sent home from daycare because he's hitting. Feeling lost, how can we help change this behavior? He's 3 years old, you can use the behavior board and you put down no hitting. And you say the daycare is going to tell me when you hit. Now, he's only 3. There's so many different ways we can deal with this. The consequence could be something like this. Whoever you hit, you're going to bring your favorite toy for them to play with and take home for a whole week. And you talk to the other parent. So you say you're sorry and say, "Here, you can play with this for a week." See how much they hit after that. They're pretty little. You got to kind of be a little bit good at this to pull that one off, but it's the one I would have used. Yeah. So if not, just have a consequence at home. But I like the one where if you hit someone, you have to do something nice for them. And the kid just gets to play with that for a week. Yeah. What are your thoughts on sleepovers at a child's friend's house? How do you deal with this? I'm just going to be totally honest. I was a nervous wreck with stuff like that. Do you know why? Because I've worked with so many kids who've been abused by older siblings at sleepovers or an uncle that's visiting. And I mean serious stuff. So I'm a nervous wreck I have to really know that family. And and people never questioned me. I was a very confident mother, so people never really questioned me. But if I said, "No, I don't want my kids, I don't know you well enough, I'm not going to let my kids sleep at your place." And they never questioned me. I'm very confident about that. And I just said, "Yeah, sorry, I just don't know you well enough." And they go, oh, okay, I understand. They respect that. If they don't, you kind of go, whoa, I made a good choice then. If someone goes, what's wrong with you? Then you think, ooh, something wrong with, because if someone said that to me, I'd respect it, right? So yeah, that's what I used to say. I was very nervous. Years ago, well, obviously it was years ago. My daughter is like 30 now, but she was about 5. And it was a kid who was a little bit different and came from a very difficult home life, evidently. And all the moms knew that. So anyway, she invited the whole class to her birthday party at her house. It would have been better if it was at a McDonald's or something, but anyways, at her house. So I'd never been there. I didn't know this family or anything. So you know what I did? I dropped her off. You know what? Inside the house, they didn't even have a bathroom door. It was open. Like just, it wasn't a home that you'd want your kids to go to. Anyway, I hid in the bushes throughout the whole party, and I watched the whole party from the bushes. And I picked my daughter up early, and I said, oh, we just found out my son, hurt his wrist or something. We have to go to the doctor or something. So yeah, don't ever apologize for being worried about your kids and keeping them safe. I never apologize for it, and I never will. Well, they're old now, but anyway. Funny story, my son was 9 years old and we were at the mall, and usually didn't have to go to the bathroom out in public, but if he did, I used to pull him into the ladies' room, the bathroom. That's what they call it in Australia. It's the ladies' room, not the bath. They don't use the word washroom or bathroom there. It's either the toilet or the ladies or the gents. Anyway, so he hated going in the ladies. So I said, and I understand that. I knew it was coming. And I said, sweetie, I totally get it. You can go in the men's. But I said to him, but I'll be right outside and go in the stall and look down when you're in there. Don't look up. So anyway, you know what I did? He goes in there and I pushed the door open and I held it open. I could see everything. And all the men standing there with their backs to me in the urinal. And I said, sweetie, if you're not out in 2 minutes, mommy's coming in. All the men zipped up and ran out. And they ran out laughing. They respected the fact that I'm just a protective mother. Because I've worked with so many abused kids. I know how fast something can happen like that. Yeah. So anyway, don't ever apologize for being overprotective. Why? Why would you apologize for that? Anyone who doesn't understand that, is something wrong with them. One time I was holding, I'm pretty sure it was my son. I was holding him. He was still a baby. I was just holding him in my arms at the supermarket going through the checkout. And this guy, this older man, he would have been about in his 70s. And he came over and he was trying to touch my son's face like this. And I said, excuse me, sir, I don't know you. Please don't touch my baby. And he goes, well, aren't you an overprotective mother? And he went to do it again. I said, if you touch my child, I'm going to call the police. He took off like a bullet. Turns out he's a pedophile, obviously. Turns out they'd had a lot of problems with him. And the manager and one of the checkout ladies both went like that, like, good for you. So they couldn't get rid of him. He was obviously a freak. So yeah, I never saw him again. Never apologize for protecting your children. Oh, how early do you start disciplining your child? I wrote that down as a question. Someone else asked that. You start disciplining around 10 months, but it's like this. If they're going to bite for something, you go, no. You never want to make it be, you want them to learn not to do that. And they're not going to learn right away, but you're just starting to do this. You say no, and then you hold their hand, say no, but you never want to say no that makes them cry. Like you don't go, no, and they cry. That's not what you want. It's just no. They can start to learn. They're starting to listen to you, but it's a slow burn. Toddlers are crazy. They're babies and they're toddlers. Anyone who hires me and they also have a toddler, but they got older kids, I'll just say this so I can tell you. I'll say to them, oh, do you want to discuss the toddler? And they go, no, they're just nuts. So yeah, it's just a period that you have to survive, basically. So I got to flip ahead because I got a lot of questions and people come and go. So I don't want to answer questions if people have left. Okay. How to respond to parents or in-laws who don't respect your parent. Okay. This is this is what I always tell people, is what I would say and what you should say, because, I'll tell you what it is. You say to them, when you undermine my parenting, it makes me feel bad. What can they say to that? Now, if they don't respect that and back off, there's nothing you can do. They're just bossy Badinskis, and just accept the fact that sometimes family's a pain in the butt. Like I would never tell my kids how to parent. None of my business. None of my business. But they leave their kids with grandma's rules. When you drop your kids off with someone else, don't micromanage that. If you trust them enough to look after your kids, let them do it their way. Okay? But yeah, if they don't respect your feelings, I can't help you. They're just bossy boots. Am I still? Oh, are you kidding me? Am I on Instagram? Am I on Instagram? I meant to go to TikTok. Doggone it. Am I on Instagram or TikTok? I can't tell. Can someone tell me? I'm on Instagram. I'm on Instagram. Fluff. Okay, I'm moving over to TikTok now. That's embarrassing. Okay, I'm moving to TikTok. Now I'm 8 minutes late. Oh, I see what I did. Yeah, I was talking to you. I was talking to YouTube. There we go. Oh, sugar. Oh, for sure I wasn't on TikTok because I'm on my personal channel. I've done that before too. Oh, sugar. How embarrassing. Oh, geez, I hate making mistakes. Yeah, I just checked. Yeah. And I even said hi, TikTok. Oh, well, I'm old. I make mistakes. Technology doesn't come naturally to me. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. You probably just, I know I'm late. You probably just came over from Instagram. I thought I was on TikTok. I left Instagram, then I re-entered Instagram. Sorry about that. Sorry. Yeah, I'm 63 years old, so technology is not my jive. Okay, sorry about that. I completely messed up. I was on Instagram, left Instagram, then rejoined Instagram instead of moving over to TikTok. So I know I'm late, but I was talking the whole time. I was just on the wrong channel. Sorry about that. I messed up. Anyway, thanks for joining me over on TikTok. See, I still can't tell the difference, like between TikTok and Instagram. I wouldn't have a clue where I am. You know what I should do? I should probably have a different picture on each platform, but then I wouldn't remember that anyway. So yeah, I'm out to lunch. Okay. Parenting's my thing, not technology. Okay, I have a 19-month-old. This is from Abby Goff. 19-month-old, and I'm having a baby next month. Any tips, please? I just answered that on Instagram. Sorry, I'm late. I went back to Instagram instead of moving to TikTok. So I've been talking the whole time. Anyway, you cannot prepare a toddler for a new baby. It's impossible. How could they possibly understand how their life is going to change? It's impossible. So yeah, it's just going to be a difficult transition with most toddlers. Some of them don't care. They don't even notice the baby. Most of them might kick up a little bit of a storm. But yeah, nothing you can do to prepare them. How could you? How could, because you'll see them in the hospital holding the new baby. Oh, they just, I waboo or whatever. And then they get home and they chuck them on the floor because they're like, well, I didn't know you were coming home. Like, I didn't know you were going to take my mommy and daddy away from me. So yeah, it's just a transition. Children do not do well with change, and talk about a change. So it just takes time. They'll grow into it. Yeah, I just want to apologize again. I was on, are you laughing at me because I was on Instagram twice? I said, okay, bye, Instagram. And then I went back on Instagram instead of TikTok. What a dope. Oh, I hate being stupid. It's not that. I don't mind being stupid, but I hate it when I'm late. So here I am, like super late for this live because I was on Instagram twice. I messed up. Stupid. Anyway, I do dumb things. Anyway, if you check out the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old, or you can hire me for coaching. Coaching's changed. I'm really busy these days, and I just have to be really selective now. So I only have the 5-session option. Anyway, and then you have to email me. You can't just sign up automatically on my website anymore because I can't always take new clients. Right now I am, but I think the other day I couldn't, and then, so every day it changes. Now, if anyone's in crisis with teenagers, I will always fit you in. Okay, that's crisis work. That's sort of my specialty. If you have teenagers and you're in crisis, or even younger children, if there's something severe going on, I will always take you. Put down crisis in the subject line, and I'll look at that email right away. I usually answer emails once every day or two. I mean, I usually get to all my emails within 2 days, but the crisis ones I get to right away, and my coaching clients, obviously. Anyway, that's that. Let's move on. Okay, parenting tips. Any tips for what? One thing I like to drive home, I've been talking about a lot lately, is I don't teach what I do. In other words, I'm level 10 with my leadership stuff because I invented this, right? So I'm level 10. I don't teach level 10. I teach level 1, 2, 3. You know what I'm saying? Then you're off on your own. You can get up to 10 all by yourself. But usually I get you up to about level 5, and then you just sort of sail on your own. Sometimes I'll get clients who just get it right away. I had someone the other day and I said, yeah, you've level jumped. They just, for some reason, every so often, someone will just click and they're able to remove their emotions from the process when they're disciplining. That's the key. Remove your emotions when you're disciplining. Discipline is a business transaction and nothing more. No emotions at all. Okay, here's oh, you broke the rule. Let's go to the behavior board. Okay, the consequence is this. Okay, you're going to help me do the dishes after dinner. Do you understand? It's like that. And then you're back to happy again. Anyway, what I was going to say, most parents these days tend to overpraise and underplay. Praise means nothing to your children. Very little, like this much to your children. Play means this much. Fun, play, humor is their love language. Think about it. If you're a little kid and your parent says, you're so beautiful and smart and funny and I love you. Okay, go play. I'm busy. Compared to, what are you doing there? Can I join in? Look at their face. Look at the difference. Do you really think that praise does anything for your kid? Squat. It's okay. You can throw it in. It's more for you than your kid, though, by the way. Kids don't care about praise. They care about play, time with you, fun, humor. Play is their love language. A lot of parents overpraise and underplay. It's okay to praise. That's for you. You can do it. But don't replace the play with praise. That was my superpower with kids. I was very good at playing with them. And in their world, I would watch them, I'd study them, and then I'd join in. And they just look at you differently. Because I had no leverage when I was working with kids. Did it for 50 years or whatever. I had no leverage. They weren't my kids. Troubled teens, whatever. I used humor, fun, play. That's how I bonded. And then they start to look up to you. Now, if you look up to someone who brings out the best in you, would you ever be rude to that person? No, they want to please you. They look up to you. You make them feel good about themselves. That's your power. I'll tell you, I keep saying I'm going to retire from coaching one day because I'm getting older now. And I don't know if I can. It's the most rewarding thing I do in my business is when I start with someone who's sobbing, and sometimes dads are crying too, by the way. They're just sobbing, like they're just broken because their kids are so rotten and they feel like crap about their parenting. And then after about 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, the difference in the parents. It's just pure joy for me, pure joy. Wonderful. By the way, the difference is that they're happy. I didn't specify what the difference was. It's all good. It's positive. Yeah, play is your child's love language. You look at the difference between a child who's just been told how smart and wonderful they are. Look at their face. Now look at the other one when you're on the ground playing with them. Look at their face. Look at the difference. Think about it. I really want you to think about that. That's so important. By the way, I specialize in troubled teenagers. That's my specialty. I started my business doing crisis work with teenagers and young children who were abused, etc. That's my specialty. So all we ever seem to talk about is little kids on these lives, because that's what people turn up. They ask me about little kids. Then sometimes I'll get emails from parents who say, I was in on your live. Do you work with older kids? That's my specialty. Teenagers are my favorite age. I don't lead with the crisis work anymore, but that's my specialty. So if you are in crisis and you want to work with me, send me an email, put down crisis in the subject line. I will flag that email right away and look at it right away. Just because I know someone mentioned the other day that they saw me and said that they didn't think I worked with teenagers. That's how I started my business. The reason I don't lead with that anymore is I want to prevent that. I want to lead with prevention rather than managing crisis. I used to do a lot of media work, like TV and radio and that. And once I was introduced as the crisis queen on the 6 o'clock news because some kid had done the worst, right, to themselves. And so they wanted to know how to prevent that. And they introduced me as the crisis queen. And that was it. I thought, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be any queen anyway, but I don't want to be the crisis. I want to prevent that. But I still work with that. And those aren't my challenging clients. That's because I've done so much of that. That's not my challenging stuff. The life and death teen stuff. That's not my most, you know what my most challenging clients are? Is a new mom with a toddler. She's got a newborn and a toddler. By far my most challenging clients. Why would that be? Why do you think that is? What can I tell her? She's got hormones flying, she's got a baby attached to her boob, and she's got a toddler biting her ankle. I mean, physically, it's just demanding. So I have to really be nice and kind to her and nurture her. And so I just feel like I'm not getting great results with her, but I'm just talking her off the cliff, basically. But yeah, that's my most, do I do one-on-one virtual coaching? Yeah, that's what coaching is. It's all done on Zoom. And you have to email me now. You used to be able to sign up 1, 3, or 5 session packages. I've only got the 5 sessions now. That's where I get the best results. So that's my own selfish view. That's what I want to work with now. And plus, I'm super busy now. So I want to commit to people for 5 weeks now. Anyway, I can't always take people on anymore. So you have to email me first. Tell me why you want to work with me. And then I'll see if I can take you on or not. Some days I can't take anyone on, but other days I can. Just depends. But if you're in crisis, I'll always take you on. My current life, a newborn and a toddler. Yeah, it's so physically demanding, and you've got hormones flying and all that. It's just, yeah. So I just have to mother the mother, like this. But it's my most challenging client because I love getting results. I love it, but there's not much I can do. I can just make you feel a bit better and tell you some little tips along the way. Yeah. Crazy question, but what's best advice to raise a child to be a good person in today's culture? Well, that is being a leader. Leaders make children feel safe, and they also bring out the best in their kids. Leaders bring out the best in everybody, virtually. If you're a good leader in any world, as a boss or anything, you bring out the best in other people. You just do. You increase their self-esteem. Children with high self-esteem have high self-esteem because they're good people. So we're good. Everyone used to say, who didn't know me, would say, oh, you're so lucky you got the nicest kids. But people like teachers and that, they knew I put in the work. I worked for that. I put in the work. Not to say that they wouldn't have been nice anyway, but they were just really nice kids. My son was in grade 2, and his teacher phoned me on her lunch hour to tell me this. She thought it was so cute. She said to my son in grade 2, why are you so nice? And he looked up at her all serious, and he said, Mommy makes us be nice. Like he had no choice whatsoever. Isn't that the cutest thing? Mommy makes us be nice. I thought that was so cute. Yeah, you're darn right. But I lead with play. I lead with fun. I enter their world. I play with them all the time. And if I want my own time, I'd say, scram. Mommy needs some no kid time. And because I played with them so much, they'd happily toddle off and play on their own. So it's just an easy position to put yourself in. Leadership parenting brings out the best in kids. They feel secure. They tell you everything right through the teen years. That's what I want for everybody. I want you all to enjoy parenting as much as I did. It was the most fun I ever had in my whole life. It was the best time of my whole life. With parenting was the most fun I ever had. I miss it. I've got grandchildren. I got a granddaughter now. It's not the same. I have to hand her back to her parents. Yeah, here you go. It's not even my kid. I love her the same as my own kids, but it's just not as much fun because you have to hand them back. Any tips on how to raise kids with a backbone, not being afraid to speak? Oh, my kids were certainly confident, as was I. I was raised by my mom, who's very much she raised me to be a confident leader and problem solve. When you're a leader, you're not solving your kids' problems, you're guiding them into solving their own problems. Like if I came to my mom and I said, Mommy, what should I do? And she'd go, I don't know, you're a smart girl, you can figure it out. And then we'd talk about it. I always thought I was solving all my own problems. She was guiding me along the way. So yeah, you don't go in and save the day all the time. You're a leader, so they know you bring out the best in them. That tends to raise their self-esteem, which raises their confidence and their ability to speak up for themselves. So it's all good stuff. Leadership is just it's wonderful. It makes everything easy and fun. That's why I never had to discipline my kids, because they were self-disciplining from about the age of 3, because they knew I was in charge, and if they ever did act out, they would have been embarrassed because they wanted to please me. I'm a leader. They had a voice too. Boy, if I messed up, boy, were they quick to point that out. So yeah, you don't want them to be obedient soldiers. You want them to be respectful, because you give respect to get it. Leaders don't demand respect, they command it. You're accountable, you respect them, and then they end up respecting, and they want to please you. You're at the height of your leadership from 3 to 12 years old. Under the age of 3, they're just nuts, they're toddlers. And then at 13, they start to become their own leaders, which is what you want. You're still there for the big stuff though. But 3 to 12, you're at the height of your leadership. That's why my boot camp course is 3 to 12 years old. It's all about you. It's not about your kids. We're not fixing kids. We're teaching parents here. You're at the height of your leadership skills from 3 to 12 years old. I know it's a vast age difference, lots of different problems in this. So I've covered all the different ages, different examples for all those ages. It goes for 5 weeks. But yeah, that's when you're at the height of your leadership. So it's about you and your leadership, not about their age. Took me a while to really figure out, do I cut that off at 9 or 11? And I figured, no, 12-year-old, they still really need a leader at 12. My mom kept me in a bubble. I'm always quiet, even if I'm not. Okay, leaders always want your kids to have a voice. My kids had a voice. Believe me. They told me what they were thinking all the time, and I wanted that, like that. I encouraged that. You have a brain, use it. But because we had mutual respect, they were never rude. They never copped attitude. You know. So yeah. Because I listened. When you're a leader, you're a safe place to land. They'll tell you everything. Because you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. That's especially important with teenagers. I'm going to read my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it, and they already know it anyway. This is teenagers I'm talking about. But that's kind of a lot younger too, but anyway. Number 2, with teenagers, negotiate pretty much everything. It's not a blanket statement, but try and lean into that as much as possible. It goes something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? Give and take, right? Parents always expect their kids to give, or but you gotta give too. Like it's a mutual thing. Number 3, with teenagers, don't sweat the small stuff. Don't try and micromanage a teenager. If they do something stupid and it's not a huge deal, say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. You're allowed to make mistakes. That's okay. Don't judge them for that. Don't judge them for doing just what you did too. They're going to learn from that. Allow them to learn from their mistakes. If you don't take that stance, they're not going to tell you anything. Like my kids were very good at coming home and telling me stupid stuff they'd done. They never did anything big, and I'd say, yeah, oh well, we've all been there. Should you discipline a 4-year-old at home when they get in trouble at school? Not necessarily. Depends on what it is. I don't know. Depends on what it is. Okay. You got a 2.5-year-old who keeps hitting the baby brother. We're right there to stop him, but he keeps doing it. Well, if he keeps doing it, you can't be there to stop him. Wear the baby if possible. Like just physically restrain him from doing that and say no. You've got to physically restrain him from doing that. I know it's hard. I know. You're dealing with a toddler here. They're just nuts, right? They'll eventually learn, but in the meantime, it's going to be difficult. Oh, you're talking about your grandson. I don't teach grandparenting here. I only teach parenting. I'm very careful with that. Do you know what people do? They get real sneaky. Huge portion of my clients are teachers, principals, and child psychologists, and they want to hire me for their clients or their students, and I don't do that. So you know what? Some of them, they told me later on, they hired me and pretended they were their kids. It's pretty obvious. I can figure it out pretty quickly, but yeah, I don't do that. Like I wouldn't know how to child psychology or principal or teach or anything. I only teach parenting. And grandparents, if I tell you what to do with your grandchild and you don't have full custody, it's not your child, what if the parents don't like it? So yeah, that's why I don't do it. And I've been hired by a lot of people, like very rich, famous people. And that, sometimes they'll bring all their nannies in. You know how many nannies rich people have for kids? Sometimes if they have 3 kids, they might have 9 nannies because each nanny works in 8-hour shifts. And they have 3 kids and they all have their own nannies. I didn't know that till I worked with some of these people. And then they refer their friends to me. So then I think, oh, they all do that. Can you imagine having 9 nannies in a household? Wow. But it's not uncommon. I didn't know that because I don't live in that world. But I don't allow nannies in on the session. Yeah, I only teach parenting. If they don't like it, they can get a refund because I'm very strict about that. That's insane to me. What's insane to you? That's crazy. What's crazy? What, the nannies? Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. But I guess if you were raised like that, like if you come from big money and it's a cultural thing. If all your friends have their nannies and that too, it's not a it's not a bad thing necessarily. Yeah, it wouldn't be for me because I wouldn't want anyone else raising my kids. But I mean, if you're busy and you're traveling all the time, if you're on movie sets and that stuff like that, that's why they need them. So especially if they travel all over the world, especially if they're in showbiz, because they when they go and do a show, like if they're in theater on Broadway or something, they need nannies, right? So um, yeah, and they're very careful with who they hire. Like these nannies they're not just a young kid. Like these are highly trained. You know what I mean? Like it's not a bad thing. Those kids are often pretty happy, but yeah, I don't judge anybody when they hire me at all. And I have to work with people all around the world with different cultural beliefs. And sometimes I have to compromise my own style to fit into their cultural beliefs because the way I look at it is I teach what I know. I teach through experience. But would I rather help them and compromise a little bit or not help them at all just because they can't do it all my way? If they're in our culture, yeah, I'm very strict with that. It's got to be my way. But if it's a different culture, religious belief, some fathers will not be on the behavior board because culturally they're the head of the house and they just won't. So I have to respect that. So used to be hard, but I'm used to that now. Anyway, I got to go at 6 o'clock. Sorry I was late here. What I did was I'm on YouTube the whole time. I'm on Facebook, then I go on Instagram, then I go on TikTok. This is what I did tonight. Facebook, Instagram. People told me, you're still on Instagram, don't you? And I'm like, really? Because I can't tell the difference when I'm on here. So then, I was really late. Sorry about that. It's so embarrassing. I hate being late. It's so stressful. When I say I'm going to be somewhere, I'm there. Obviously not. That's a big fat lie because I wasn't here. I thought I was, though. Anyway, I got to go. Thanks so much for joining me. If you check out my link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, so you can hire me for coaching. Coaching's changed. Check out my website because I can't always take people on anymore. I'm getting really busy. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and I'll be back maybe tomorrow. I don't know what time, though. Happy parenting. Bye now.